Okay, I'd like to bring the meeting to order. This is the Historic District Commission, Town of Fairfield. The date is November 20th, 2024, and the time is 12 o'clock. Take attendance. For me, Rosina Negron, Commissioner.
Here.
Thank you. Parker Vance, Commissioner. Is here. Good. Jaren Raymond Locke. Commissioner is absent. George Clark, Commissioner. Thank you. Maura Derrick, alternate Commissioner.
Here.
Thank you. Jim Bohan, alternate Commissioner.
Here.
And Jim Accomando, alternate Commissioner, is not here. And I'm Adam Claver, Commissioner. Jim, you're logged in twice because I have two pictures of you, and you're echoing. Hang on, I'm gonna kick one of you out. Okay, you still there, Jim?
No,
Okay.
I just been moved. Let me go out and come back in. I was getting a very severe.
No, you're. Can you? No, you're good. You're good.
Really?
I just you were logged in. You were logged in twice for some reason, and I just kicked one of you out. So now there's just only one of you.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm getting a message you have been
Okay.
removed from the meeting.
But you're not. You're on. We got
Okay,
you.
I can't see anything, but I can hear.
Oh, you
Okay,
can't see
let's see
anything?
how it goes. Thank you.
You want to try and logging back in?
Yeah, let me do that. That worked.
Yeah,
last week.
I'll give you a second. Go ahead. Take your
Yeah.
time.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, great. All right, so we're here today to meet Chris Skelly. He's a consultant that we have hired to take on our handbook project. Chris, how you doing?
All right. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I'm clear.
Okay, great.
Welcome.
Yes, thank you. And welcome to everyone. Looking forward to working with you on this project. Been to Fairfield
So,
once.
what do you think the
with
best
Adam.
way?
Yep.
Yes, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I
Sorry,
just
didn't
wanted to
cut you
say I met with Adam a few weeks ago and we had a great tour around the districts. So impressed by what I saw there. Really amazing community, wonderful districts, and had a great day exploring them. We also sat down and talked a little bit more about what the needs are for the handbook. And I've got a good sense of that just from looking through it as well in my own experience with how these things work. But today we can go over what I've put together so far for a draft table of contents. And so that'll give us an outline for what a potential new handbook would look like. But Adam, if you think there's anything else to introduce beforehand for what
I don't know, maybe you
comments,
could just,
thoughts would be?
just like the discussion we had, you had some, just I think your initial take on the existing handbook and some what you think might be good changes. Just maybe walk the commission through what we talked about last week. a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. I think one of the things is the distinction between what I would call a handbook and what I would call design guidelines. It it doesn't. It's just a name, so it doesn't necessarily mean that much. But to me, a handbook means something that's a lot more meant to be used by homeowners for all kinds of things in terms of their property and their neighborhood and their district. It gives them all kinds of material and information that may be completely unrelated to the administration and application process of being in a local historic district. So they're terrific to have a handbook. Design guidelines to me are a lot more focused on uh, the role of you as the historic district commission and the decision-making process for each type of application that you might see. So to me, design guidelines are really something that would be, I mean, it's obviously used by you, but are really there for the public themselves, for every applicant to come through and be able to quickly look through a design guidelines document to get a sense of how you handle your reviews, what you think you would most likely approve, what would be most likely not approved, and so they can really get a sense before they even come before you, the kinds of things that you're going to likely approve in the district. What I think now, those names get used interchangeably sometimes, so that's not really a problem. But it is a distinction that I noted, that I do see. For your handbook, I think what stood out for me is that it doesn't even get to design guidelines till you're well into the document. And even though there's terrific information in there, that's lots of introductory material in terms of architectural styles and the history of Fairfield, it's way too much to have in what I would want to call design guidelines. And that's for the benefit of an applicant that's never picked up this document before. They want to quickly be able to look through this document and see, okay, yeah, okay, this is I'm doing a work on a chimney. I'm changing out a window. How do I find very quickly what I want within this document? And so we really want to have a user-friendly document that gets right into that aspect for the applicants themselves. The other thing is, I think, of course, these design guidelines are your best friend as well, so that you can have a decision-making process that is much easier for you as commissioners, but also stands up in court if there was ever an appeal or anything. You want to have language, very clear language that you can pull out of your design guidelines in every decision. Say, this is why we voted the way we did, because this is what our design guidelines say. You're much better position when you're in a court of law to have a good set of design guidelines that you have followed in all of your decision-making process. Other than that, of course, it's just plain easier for you as a commission member to have a set of design guidelines and to have your fellow townspeople in front of you and be able to say, we can't approve this project because it doesn't meet this section of the design guidelines. It really takes you out of the hot seat a lot. Okay. Anything else we kind of wanted me to touch on, Adam?
No, I think that was a great summary.
Okay.
Yeah, ultimately, I think that the goal, and our initial goal anyway, for the handbook was to make it easier for people who live in the districts, and for the commission itself to make decisions and have guidance on how to add on or modify homes. So.
Yep. Okay.
So do you want to? Can you share your outline? That you
Yeah.
have?
Is that possible for me to share?
Yeah, there's a share button on the bottom. It's best if you have the document open on your desktop, and then
Okay.
go to
So,
share and search for it.
okay. It is open. Let's see. Window. Let's see. Try that again. I have it open as a PDF. Why it doesn't show up there then?
Yeah, and then when you go to share contact, you should be able to just search for it.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Yep, now it's there. All right, so you can see it, but so I'm not as familiar with WebEx as I am with Zoom. So can you see the document now? Because it says it's sharing.
Yes, yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay,
I
but
see
I
it.
can't see it. I can't see it for some reason.
No, you should
would
be able
have-
to see it. It's weird that you don't.
It's definitely not showing up like it would in Zoom. I can do split screen so I can show the actual, I can see the actual PDF on my desktop. Okay, let me see if maybe if I switch layout. Huh.
No, you can't see it.
No, I can only see you. I can only see all of you right now. I wonder if I do this. Nope. I can do split screen on my desktop here. All right. Well, so all right. So as long as you can see it, that's what matters. I'm just looking at the
Yep.
actual version on my desktop table of contents. So right now I see the top where it says table of contents, introduction, and all the things that I would put into the introduction. Is that similar to what you would see?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So we still would have an introduction in this document, and we'd still want to have these kinds of things. It's just that they're going to be much shorter, I think, than what's in the existing document. So when I say we should have a history of the town of Fairfield, that's more like a paragraph or something like that. History of historic preservation, and that's going to cover things like was there anything that happened during City Beautiful movement 100 years ago? When were the districts created? Have there been other kinds of things, major events in terms of historic preservation in Fairfield? But again, I think that's going to be half a page that we would have there. A lot of these things to me are half page at the most, so that we can move on quickly. But you think you still want to have all these things in the introduction itself. And then second chapter would be introducing the districts themselves. So we'd have a paragraph, maybe a page or something about each of the districts, but not the lengthy discussions that are in the existing document on each of the districts. I think it's too much to have in the introduction to your design guidelines. This is where we would have a map of each of the districts, and then just a little bit about the significance of the districts as well, and then architectural styles. Again, I'd really like to cut back on how much you have for architectural styles in the existing design guidelines. If you feel strongly about any of these things, I'd say I'd like to talk to you about maybe having something more in the appendix instead. on architectural styles or history of the history of the town, but having a lot less in the front. The other thing I thought about was, okay, just give this a thought, that this document that we're working on really becomes your design guidelines. But you have so much great information in the existing handbook that might be useful other places as well. If you think of yourself as a commission that's not related to just the design review within these 3 districts, but actually think about yourselves as a commission that's thinking about the historic resources throughout the entire city of Fairfield, well, maybe think about a handbook that could be useful for anyone, whether they're in the district or outside the district. And that way you could have things that are architectural styles, great. You could have a whole section about architectural styles, because you've got lots of significant properties that are outside the districts as well, that are and they're not even designated. You could have a whole history on the history of the city, again in that document, that would be useful for anyone to read, anyone that moves to Fairfield, whether they're in a district or not. And then the handbook could also, of course, have information about the local historic districts, but it would really be applicable, useful to anyone, whether they're in a district or not. Okay, so anyway, think about that, because you do have a lot of great information in here. Okay, so that's the local historic districts chapter we would have. And again, architectural styles, instead of the I think it's like a couple pages or so on each of the styles, I'd say a paragraph on each one of the styles, really cutting back on that. 3, the design review process in the local historic districts. We talk a little bit about what the Historic District Commission is, the projects that are reviewed in the local historic districts and what's not reviewed in the districts, the application process, the hearing process, decision-making process. And Adam, you can still see all of this. It's where I've got the same spot up on the screen. Okay. All right.
Yep.
Great.
Yep.
All right. Certificates. I always like to have a flow chart in design guidelines so that anyone that's never done this before can quickly look at the one pager there and see how they go from their application to the actual decision of the commission. Hardship variance, appeals, violations and enforcement, rules of procedure, all good things to have in this chapter as well. So then we get into the actual design guidelines themselves. And the way I'm the biggest fan of design guidelines that are actually in alphabetical order. So at the top of each page, there's just a really easy way to flip through for anyone, you or the applicants especially themselves, so it's easy for them. They can quickly look through A to Z what kind of projects they need to be thinking, what kind of design guidelines they need to be thinking about for their project. So it starts with accessibility and architectural barriers, additions, architectural materials, where that might be things of section on composite kinds of materials that could come up. Then we go to awnings, chimneys, cornices, decks, demolition, dismantling, relocation, doors, entryways, and just keep going down the list there. And so each one of these would actually get their own page. So again, it's just a nice user-friendly method of having design guidelines, because you can quickly know what you need to find. Where I think the existing handbook, it makes it a little hard to know what you need to find as an applicant. All right, so I just flip down to the bottom here. So when I send this out to Adam and he gets it out to all of you, that's one of the things we'll be looking at. Do I have enough of the sections in here that cover all the applications that you foresee coming before you, or there's some other topics that we should have in here as well? And then the appendices, I mean, definitely you want to have things like your ordinance there so that anyone can quickly see the law that you actually operate under, the local law, how you make your decision-making process. And then the state law, if that's possible to put that in the appendices as well. It's good to have the state law. And so then you have the local law, the state law right there that anybody can refer to. Sometimes in the appendices will be a glossary of architectural terms, bibliography maybe, other resources that are for homeowners, maybe things at the state level in terms of tax credits, grants, things like that. Other things available, say from the nonprofit, the statewide nonprofit organization that might be useful. But you'll have probably other ideas that you would like to see in the appendices there as well. But that's definitely the start of what I would want to see there. All right, so tell me if you want me to go to anywhere else on this table of contents, or if any comments so far.
So Chris, I think when we talked, you mentioned bringing the design stuff to the front of the book to make it easier to find. And it seems like you sort of kept it where it is now. So what's your thinking there?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, I mean, you started, how far are we in on this? It's like page 80 or something by the time we get into.
Yeah, 60 something.
Yeah, 60 up. Yeah, yep. Page, 59, 58. I think we're going to be much sooner than that by the time we get into design guidelines.
Okay.
It's just, we may have some of these sections still, like architectural styles.
Yeah. And I guess we were also
Adam,
talking
can I
about
ask-
having tabs. Yeah, of course. Go ahead, Mel.
I just a question I have about context as well as content, and I brought this up briefly, is it at all possible, instead of this being in a pamphlet book type format, of doing it electronically? You know, just even talking about some of these things like the history of Fairfield, of it being succinct and having a click through if you wanted to get more detail, of getting into more background information, so that on the front side you could get to what you're looking for quickly, but the other content you could get to? Or is this something, because this has to be more controlled, it has to be in a PDF and in a design guideline or handbook?
Yeah, that's a great question. You're definitely seeing some communities that are switching entirely to an online platform for their design guidelines.
Right.
So it is possible.
That's something you can
So
do?
yes, we could head in that direction instead, and this is all entirely web-based, and there's benefits to that. I think there are some downsides to it, that you don't get the
What are the
you don't get the
downsides?
PDF that anybody could walk away with. It's not as
But
accessible in some ways.
who's walking away with PDFs at this point, right? I mean,
Yep.
I mean, you could do a PDF as well.
Yeah, I think the other thing you could do is just have each one of these, the table of contents could be linked to each section so that you click on it and it just goes to that section on the website.
Exactly. Yeah, from the index. I agree.
And it.
Yep.
In a PDF format.
Yeah. The one thing I'd just like to put down in your notes is that a lot of people come to our meetings totally unprepared, and embarrassingly, some haven't even haven't even looked at the manual. And almost when they fill out the appropriateness application, there ought to be some guidelines, some firm statements that they should be looking at this long before they come and make a presentation. And then sometimes they look at the commission to become their solution. Tell us what we should do. That's not our role, and it becomes a little bit embarrassing when it's sometimes 2 and 3 meetings. I'd like to see that cleaned up. If you could make a note someplace.
Sure, absolutely.
I agree with George, and I was actually going to just say that, when you talk about public hearings, I was thinking about kind of a what to expect, right? Of the commission expects that you will have looked at these guidelines, and if you're confused, reach out. And almost just like what you just did today of we do this on WebEx, and while you're providing your application, we expect you to present it and share it at the meeting. I mean, Adam, you know this. How many times people are like, "Oh, you want me to share it?"
Yeah,
And they
Yes.
get flustered.
totally ill prepared, really.
Well, I mean, the reality is, this is all great, and I think for probably a good number of the applicants, it would be very useful, and it would probably streamline the operation quite a bit. But the reality is, you know, you can lead a horse to water, but you know, I can't tell you how many times I've tried to explain, and I'm going through this right now with an applicant where I sent him the instructions on filling out an application, what he needs, and et cetera. I spelled it all out, and what will I get back? I tell him how to even fill out the application. You need to alphabetize, you know, list, simple, brief description of what you're doing. And instead I get this application where he's scribbled, you know, like on the side margins and everything. I can't read his handwriting. And he's like basically writing a story about, you know, how he's renovating his house. And so I sent him all this information. He doesn't read a thing of it, you know, read any of it.
Mhm.
And it's just so frustrating.
Maybe you send it back to him and ask him to fill it out.
Oh, at the end and at the very end, I'm like, and if it's incomplete, I can't accept it. I'm sorry. You know, I don't know what you want me to do. But luckily, it's a small percentage. But I do think all these other ideas will help the average homeowner in their application.
It might also be an idea, since all these things are videotaped, they could go look at prior meetings and see what the expectations are.
Yeah.
In
And a lot of people do.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, and it shouldn't be a big surprise.
And a lot of people don't want to be bothered, you know, so it's just,
Well, then,
No.
you know, I guess we could take the same role.
Yeah, I think you'll be in much better position having a good user-friendly set of design guidelines, but it is not a cure-all for your public outreach and relations. It's not going to cure everything. You got to think about other tools as well.
Do you have examples of HTCs that have put it on electronic format that we could reference?
I did see one recently. There's not many, but yeah, I don't have examples easily right at hand, but I can go check that out.
I mean, there must be some that have been. The world is going there, so.
Yeah, you want ones that it's not a PDF that they're going to, that it's a requirement that you go to the website. Yeah.
And they drill down through it. They go through a couple of levels and they can actually reference and maybe even go back a couple levels down to see if they need more information.
Mhm.
yeah. It would be, so, any other thoughts or comments for Chris? Or in
I
general?
think all I would need to know right now is that this is heading in the right direction, and I'll keep running with it because we're going to keep talking and getting into the details of this.
Yeah.
I just want to know I'm heading in the right direction, that you like this, where it's going so far, and then we'll keep meeting it for however many times we need to.
Yeah,
This has been great.
I have a second residence in Newport, Rhode Island, which has a very aggressive HTC, and theirs is all electronic.
Okay, all right,
and
I'll take a look at that.
It's pretty cool. I mean, you could drill down through chapters and stuff and go underneath it. So it's actually a pretty good example of something that maybe more than we need. It's it's a much bigger community.
Okay, great. I'll definitely look at that one.
It would make it much easier to navigate if you could just go, it's sort of like the zoning regulations in Westport are similar.
Yeah.
It's very easy to navigate and find what you're looking for, what you want to look for.
And then do you fill out
Um,
in Newport, do you fill out the application and send it in online as well?
You fill out the application, send it in online, and they actually have a person that reviews it and approves it before you come to a meeting. So you won't get to the meeting without having the material blessed.
Right. Well, it's the same here.
Well, you're too nice then.
Yes.
What's your sense
have
with
a
your city
question.
government, whether that's an option, having an online application format as well? Not like where they
That
send
might be
you
more
not like where
complicated getting the.
I don't know.
Yeah, that might be more complicated because then I don't know if we have to get involved with the town and to do online applications. I don't know how that would work.
Do they have a
Yeah.
permanent?
But
sta-
isn't the town
Jim, go
already
ahead.
using a,
Who's this? Who's missing?
Sarah,
isn't the town already using an electronic way for people to apply for the permit? It will be exactly the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm not sure. Is that what they're doing for permits these days? I know they
Yeah.
are working online. They have a platform
Oh.
that's online.
Almost all the towns are now online. They have different programs, but it's so much easier to deal with online applications. I deal with them daily, and it's
Okay.
much better to the online process in terms
Yeah,
of
so
how
to
much
implement,
paperwork.
yeah. Yeah, it would be nice. I mean, the other thing is we have, that's our office with files of all these properties in the district and there's no room left in there. I can barely get an application in the file with it, and so that needs to be expanded. But if we go away from paper, we won't need all that storage. Maybe it gets digitized or something and it all goes online like everything else.
Correct.
I don't know. That's a different discussion now.
Sounds like a good idea. Plan too.
It sounds like it'd be great for us
I
to
have a
meet.
question.
If this is what you want to do, I think it'd be great for us to have a meeting with your IT department, whoever in City Hall is going to be doing administration here. And then, because I would want to see how what I'm putting together as text would actually transfer over to a web page. And we just want to make sure it's all possible.
Do you have the technology to
question.
create something like that? Sorry to keep cutting you off. Chris, do you have the technology to do something digital like that?
I mean, I have familiar. I mean, I manage my own website, so sure, I can do that. But I mean, there's too many things to think about in terms of your municipality and what they would allow for me to create something on your website.
Yeah.
Probably allow me at all. I think that's all going to have to be done in house.
Oh, you think it's something that you would have to create within the website as opposed to creating something that would get downloaded in the website? Like a program that get I don't even know, interface that you would, I guess it has to be part of the website, huh? Is that what you're saying?
I think that's got to be all integrated into your website. Yeah, but IT would be able to give us some sense on that.
Okay, it's a new website too, so maybe, which is not easy to deal with, by the way, but
Yeah.
anyway, Rosina, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
So I had a question about the handbook versus the design guidelines. I know we have a grant. What does the grant cover, actually? Because if we opt for just having the design guidelines and having the separate document like Chris was mentioning, how much does the grant cover for that?
It covers the, we can pull up the application. I mean, it is sort of specific about what the end product is going to be. Okay, so one of the questions was what specific activities will you carry out with the grant funds? Funds will be used to revise and update the existing handbook, addressing inconsistencies in the original handbook, developing design sections, reformatting for easier future updates. The handbook will be printed and distributed to all homeowners in the historic district and sitting commissioners. So there's, I guess, that little thing that I put in there.
Okay.
But I think generally I could ask, Mary Dunn is not responding to me, but that's a good question for her as to, what we can do with this grant. Clearly, I think we can, revise the handbook the content of the handbook. Can we stray from the deliverable product? Whether we need to have that's, I guess, a good question. But I don't know.
And maybe if it's all online, that question kind of goes away in a way, because we could separate things online in different ways. So those are things that maybe we need to kind of think about.
Okay. Any other comments? Suggestions or?
Yes, sounds like we got the beginning of a good plan.
Yeah. So next steps, Chris, what do you think? You're just going to continue developing what you have?
Yeah, I'll keep running with this and filling in sections here. I have a lot that I can do.
Do you want me to reach out to? Yeah. Do you want me to reach out to the IT guy here in town
Yeah, that'd be great.
and talk to him about the potential of doing what we're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I can do that.
Yep. And when you have an admin person in City Hall that helps you, right, with at least with a little bit of posting notices and minutes and things like that. Is that person in the planning department or in the building department? Uh-oh, I can't hear you right now.
Where'd you go, Adam?
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. In the near future, the commission is going to need to, I think, create maybe a subcommittee, to handle the handbook. But I mean, I leave that up to, I told you, Chris, I'm leaving the commission. My term ends the end of this month, and then December is my last meeting. But I would imagine that they want to create a subcommittee that will be the handbook committee to focus on this. And go through the details of, there's some details in the handbook, I think, that have come up over time, and some, we did some work on the handbook in the past that never was implemented, but just sort of ideas or about things that need to be addressed. So at some point, we should get those to you.
Okay, yeah, that'd be good.
You know what I mean? So you can include those in your project. Okay.
Okay, yeah, so if there's a subcommittee, I mean, if they wanted to meet every other week or something, that would be fine with me, or whatever works for the subcommittee, but happy to be very available for the subcommittee.
Great. Okay. Well, this has been great. Thanks, Chris, for your time. And everyone else.
Thank
All
you. Adam.
right, so we
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
Get a motion to adjourn.
Make that
I'll
motion.
make the motion.
Second.
Motion, George, seconds, all in favor? Not opposed. Okay, we are adjourned. Thanks again, Chris.